Fumble Beast, G Herbo facing 20 years for fraud. Humble Beast, more like Fumble Beast. Right now, it's almost impossible not to hear rumors about G Herbo, the Chicago rapper who was recently indicted on multiple fraud charges that claim he used fake identities to purchase luxury items and vacations for himself and his associates. Known throughout Chicago as a hard and dedicated artist, the charges came as a surprise to fans who have listened to Herbo's many tracks about making and spending huge amounts of cash. Now that the truth is out, some fans are wondering how many of G Herbo's lyrics are true and how many he may have stretched the truth on. In 2014, Herbert Randall Wright III, stage name G Herbo, released 2 mixtapes that would put him in rooms with some of the other great Chicago rappers of the time. Welcome to Fazoland and the Pistol P Project would establish G Herbo as a drill rapper who could still compete lyrically with other less intense styles of rap. The mixtapes also introduced listeners to Herbo's tales of growing up and surviving on the streets of Chicago, where drug dealing, murder, and constant danger were some of his only companions. Fans made from these projects would follow him throughout his entire discography, including 5 studio albums and 4 more mixtapes about his life in Chicago. Since 2014, the rapper has had major success in the rap scene as a whole, but especially in Chicago, where some regard him as a local hero, despite his affiliation with the NLMB, a Chicago family that insists they aren't involved in gang activity in the city. From the very beginning, the rapper had no problem getting features with some of the industry's biggest up-and-coming artists, as well as those who are already well established. Some of his most famous collabs include Chirac with Nicki Minaj, One Scale with Young Dolph, and T.O.P. featuring 21 Savage. Several of his collaborations have led to close friendships with other stars, who have supported the rapper despite his continuous run-ins with the law. Oh yes, if you thought this fraud case was the first one to catch G Herbo, you would be wrong. It isn't even the second. The rapper has previously been arrested and charged for having guns in his limo and for getting into a dramatic physical altercation with Ariana Fletcher, his ex-girlfriend, and baby mama to his 5-year-old son, Yo Son. Both times, he managed to get off with nothing more than probation and a few fines, and it clearly didn't affect his ability to make money touring or doing shows. Despite all this, it's his most recent legal battle that has tongues wagging industry-wide, and fans wondering if G Herbo is just another fake rapper acting flashy for the cameras. So let's get into exactly what the Chi-Town rapper has been accused of and whether or not it's true, shall we? G Herbo's fraud case actually started all the way back in 2020, 2 months before the rapper would be riding high off of his newest release, PTSD, his 3rd album, but the first to reach the top 10 on the Billboard 200. In December of that year, Herbo and several of his team, including his promoter and current manager, were indicted by the federal government on 14 different charges of fraud and theft. But G Herbo immediately claimed he was innocent. For the next 2 years, the rapper's legal team would tell fans and feds alike that Herbo had nothing to do with the fraud, even as the charges racked up against him. While fraud can mean a lot of different things legally, in G Herbo's case, he and Antonio Strong, Demario Sorrells, Stephen Hayes, Joseph Williams, and Terrence Bender were accused of using stolen credit card and payment account info to purchase everything from luxury trips to private jets to expensive puppies bought from a well-known breeder. Limo rides, private chefs, supercar rentals, and more made up the list of fraudulent charges, and authorities have evidence linking Herbo to more than one purchase. On top of this, the Chicago rapper and his cronies are being charged with identity theft for continually impersonating card and account holders and using their information to buy things. For anyone in America, famous or not, behavior like this has consequences. The minimum sentence for aggravated identity theft is 2 years in prison, and wire fraud can sometimes see sentences of up to 20 years, along with a substantial fine and several years of probation. While G Herbo may have been able to get away with small fines and limited probation up to this point, it's unlikely he or his associates will get off as easy this time, especially with so much evidence stacked against them. Multiple businesses and individuals who were victims of identity theft and wire fraud have come forward against G Herbo and the other accused, making it hard for them to look innocent for long. Before this year, G Herbo and his legal team were clear at every opportunity that the rapper had nothing to do with any of the claims made in the indictment. However, after evidence was released showing Herbo messaging his promoter Antonio Strong about finessing him a hotel room and other luxury needs, the rapper has been forced to change his stance on the case. About $1.5 million worth of fraudulent purchases were made with stolen information, and it looks like there's more than G Herbo will be able to talk himself out of. On July 19, 2023, the rapper's legal team shocked fans by filing paperwork to show that the artist will plead guilty to the wire fraud and to lying about it when asked by federal officials. As a part of the plea deal, Herbo would potentially see 3 to 5 years in prison, followed by another 3 of supervised release or probation. He would also have to pay restitution to all the people and businesses affected by wire fraud scheme, which could be millions of dollars. On top of that, Herbo would owe a $250,000 fine and even potentially have some of his luxury assets seized as a penalty for his criminal behavior. You can see why the news shocked his fans, as 3 to 5 years in prison would make it hard for him to record music. Since this isn't his first run in with the American legal system, some fans are asking why G Herbo would plead guilty, especially when he originally claimed he was 100% innocent. The best reason we can come up with is to try and avoid the 20-year sentence that can be passed down for conspiracy to commit wire fraud and any more explosive evidence that could be released in court proving G Herbo's guilt if he decided to plead not guilty. Since he's already been caught lying once, pleading guilty is probably his best move. However, it certainly has tarnished the rapper's name, and now everyone from industry insiders to gossip rags is wondering what else G Herbo hasn't been honest about. Despite all this, since pleading guilty, the Break Yourself rapper has been in high spirits, and his career hasn't stopped growing in any way, shape, or form. In a short street interview with TMZ, G Herbo said he was doing great after the entered plea, with nothing on his plate but work. Since then, he was brought out by longtime friend and collaborator 21 Savage at Rolling Loud Miami, where it was clear the rapper still has a solid fan base as the crowd went wild. Online, after news of Herbo's plea deal began to surface, fans were prompted to give him his flowers while he was still a free man, and many mentioned that his style and flow were unique compared to the other drill rappers. The rapper has been scheduled for a tentative hearing on Friday, July 27th, where a judge will either accept or deny his plea, and some fans are still hopeful that the artist will manage to stay out of jail, while others worry about his mental health while he's on the inside. From the beginning of his career, G Herbo has rapped about how tough it was growing up in Chicago, and in recent years has become more open about the effects it's had on his mental health. He's also talked about avoiding the drug dealer lifestyle that he was a part of before his success as an artist, and how he planned to deal all his life if he didn't make it big. Since prison isn't the best place for someone struggling with PTSD and other mental health issues, or trying to avoid drugs or drug-affiliated people, fans are understandably nervous. That being said, haters have plenty to say about G Herbo pleading guilty, whether he actually does jail time or not. Like most rappers, Herbo has a large number of songs that revolve around his luxurious lifestyle, from talking about spending money at the club to making as much of it as possible. Since his plea deal has become public, people are wondering if he's really making the money he claims to be, and if any of his rich public persona is even real. If he needs his promoter to finesse everything from private jets to puppies for him, how much can he really be making? On Twitter, jokes were flying about the humble beast rapper's inability to pay for things like private chefs and security guards, and instead stealing the identities of old people across America to pay his bills. All jokes aside, G Herbo isn't even the first rapper to run into legal trouble this year, as multiple rappers who identify as members of the YSL gang were caught in RICO charges by the federal government earlier in 2023. Herbo seemed to think of the case, which involves other prominent artists Young Thug and Gunna, when he was charged, since he posted an Instagram story claiming he knew his associates wouldn't snitch on him, unlike members of the YSL crime family who have given each other up to avoid longer prison sentences. Let's hope that Herbo was correct, since any more evidence linking him to these charges of wire fraud and identity theft would almost certainly result in more prison time. Until the judge decides whether or not to agree to G Herbo's plea deal, there isn't much more he can do other than try and convince fans half of his lyrics haven't been false. Some fans are claiming that he isn't the only rapper to lie about how much money they're bringing in, while others are just worried the rapper will make it out of the prison unscathed. What do you think? Will G Herbo actually face prison time for his fraud and conspiracy crimes? Or will he be able to lie his way out of this one? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to stay tuned for more true celebrity stories.